France 24. Right now we're moving on with a look through the international papers with Flo Villamino. Hi there, Flo.
Hi,
and we've got a very Donald Trump heavy press review today, so let's get started. Across the pond, most fittingly, in the New York Times, it's one of the newspapers that's talking about Donald Trump putting together his team, trying to hire some people.
That's right, because he's been made quite famous for saying you're fired. Well, now he's about to say you're hired to a whole lot of people. You can read more about it in the editorial of the New York Times today that says that, you know, up until now, Donald Trump has had no experience in the federal government, and now he's under immense pressure to find 4,100 qualified people to lead it. So
that's
quite a lot of hiring going on.
Wow.
Interestingly, according to the Wall Street Journal, when he met with Obama a couple days ago, it was apparent that he was unaware that he had to replace the entire presidential staff upon taking office. So he's going to be hiring a lot of people. He's already started hiring some people, and his choices are already coming under a lot of fire, particularly one choice that's getting a lot of attention across the U.S. media, and that's the fact that he decided to name Stephen Bannon as his chief strategist, senior counselor to the president. Stephen Bannon, of course, the CEO of the far-right publication Breitbart, which has been a big supporter of Donald Trump throughout his campaign.
And Breitbart is a very controversial publication, as you said, or website. Critics have accused Stephen Bannon himself, the website's articles, of being outright racist.
That's right. He certainly has a lot of critics. He also has a lot of fans. Now, that's true in the States. It's also true here in Europe. There's a very interesting piece today in the Daily Beast by Christopher Dickey, where he talks about the fact that essentially Stephen Bannon wants to expand Breitbart's operations to several European countries, including France, the UK, Germany, and the Netherlands. You can see here a photo of Marion Maréchal Le Pen, the niece of Marine Le Pen, the leader, of course, of the far-right National Front. And now he has praised Marion Maréchal Le Pen. She has gushed on Twitter in response, saying she would love to collaborate with Bannon. You can see they're talking about how he dreams of a worldwide ultra-right, perhaps starting in Europe. Interesting cartoon today in The Guardian, which takes a look at the dark side of the supermoon. Now, it might be kind of hard to see, but this supermoon is, in fact, Donald Trump, and you can see all these animals howling at the moon. You might be able to notice they're all a little rabid.
I see, foaming at the mouth. It's interesting, isn't it? The concept of a worldwide network or collaboration of nationalists. It's a very interesting concept, and I'm sure we're going to look at it more closely in the weeks to come. The former UKIP leader, Nigel Farage. Now, he's one of those controversial figures that's been cropping up on our front pages, hasn't he?
He sure
He's
has.
over in New York. He says he's just a tourist, but he's a tourist who's had a meeting with Donald Trump. He's got into some articles because of that, and also because of how he looked in the photos.
That's right. Now, this happened on Sunday. Let's take a look at a photo, actually. You can see this photo in The Independent. He skipped Remembrance Day services in Britain so he could go to America to meet Donald Trump. You can see this photo taken in Donald Trump's golden elevator. Now, there's something missing on Nigel Farage, and that is a poppy. Now, this is, of course, the symbol of Veterans Day that many people tend to wear in the UK, and in fact, you tend to come under criticism if you don't wear it.
If you're a public figure, certainly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Broadcasters, anyone in kind of official ceremonies during that time, during the whole month of November.
That's right, and in fact, Labour was very quick to call Farage, you can see it here in the headline, a populist popinjay. Essentially, they were calling him a hypocrite, especially because, you know, during the whole lead up to the Brexit referendum, Farage was the very first to appropriate, you know, Battle for Britain imagery. So it's interesting that he decided not to wear the poppy on the actual day of Remembrance Day.
All right, we'll leave our viewers with that image to make their own thoughts. Here in Europe, many countries trying to figure out about the deal with President-elect Trump, how they're going to deal with him, rather. An emergency EU summit, if we can cast it that way, was held in Brussels at the weekend.
That's right. Now, the Wall Street Journal, so a conservative U.S. paper, sees this emergency summit as a gnashing of the teeth coming from Europe. You can see they're talking about Europe's Trump panic. It was typically chaotic. Now, Courrier International says that Europe is essentially searching for itself, searching for some sort of a common position to face Trump, and that's why this emergency summit was held. But divisions have appeared. The UK, Hungary, and France snubbed this emergency meeting on how the EU should respond to Trump. Now, some countries are thrilled, though, it must be said. Of course, in Russia, we saw that the parliament gave a huge round of applause when it became apparent that Donald Trump was going to win the election. Papers in Russia are reporting on the fact that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone. You can see it here in the Moscow Times. Now, according to a statement from the Kremlin, they agreed that the relations between their countries was unsatisfactory, so quite harsh words there. They vowed to improve them. You can read more about it in the U.S. papers as well. There's an article in the Washington Post. Now, what's interesting is Trump says that it was Putin that made the call to congratulate him, and they talked about the economy and fighting terrorism, and they also agreed to meet face to face. Now, Trump has been getting a lot of phone calls from around the world. He also got a phone call from Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, and they agreed also to cooperate. You can read about it here on the front page of China Daily. Now, according to an interesting article, once again, in Courrier International, China's only option is to cooperate with Donald Trump's America. And as a candidate, Donald Trump was very critical of Beijing, particularly on trade matters. And let's just end with a cartoon in the New York Times by the Singaporean artist Hang. You can see it appears that Donald Trump would want to get back at China for trade practices that he views as unfair. You can see here Donald Trump depicted as a sheriff with this wanted sign with that little panda looking a little scared there in China, of course.
Poor little panda. Nice to end on a cartoon, though. Thanks very much. Flo Volumino there with our press review.